What is the eighth principle? Well, you know our 7 principles, right? They're things that matter to us, things that guide how we are as a community, how we treat each other, and what we want to bring more of into the world. Just like each of us is always learning and growing, we know our principles have to grow sometimes too. This is the story of the 8th principle. A few years ago, some UU leaders spoke up. They told us these principles we love, they left something out. Like many who'd come before them, they spoke about how people still aren't being treated fairly because of the color of their skin, or where they come from, or other things that make them who they are. And that happens not only in the world at large, but even in our congregations, even in this one. So we need to do more to make sure that all people can feel welcome and loved here. We need to say more about our commitments to fight against racism, because racism hurts everybody. In fact, it hurts all 7 of our principles. And so, the 8th principle was born. The 8th principle is a commitment to fight against racism and oppression, and to build a beloved community of love and trust and belonging here in our church and in the world around us. We're going to be talking about the 8th principle a lot this spring, learning about it and what it means for this community. What does the 8th principle mean to you?
that beautiful music. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Worcester, a congregation of love, hope, and justice, inspiring people to take on the challenges of a changing world. My name is Rachel Keogh, and I am a member of the 8th Principal Task Force. We offer a special welcome to those of you who are new, visiting with us this morning for the first time here in person or online. We are delighted that you are here. For those here in person, we hope that you will join us in Fellowship Hall following the service for refreshments and conversation. For those online with questions about UUCW, please share your questions in the chat. If you have questions or desire more information about this service or any of the ministries and programs of this congregation, please do not hesitate to ask. Many of our members and friends have asked me about UUCW buttons and stickers. Any one of them will be happy to share with you, and if they do not know the answer to your question, we'll find you someone who does. Please take a moment to sign one of the attendance clipboards that are now being circulated by those in the front row. Though you are not obligated to sign, we appreciate your information and will use it only for church purposes. During the service, we offer an opportunity to share a brief personal joy or sorrow. If you would like yours to be read aloud, please print it on an index card in the pew and drop it in the collection plate when it comes around. These cards will also be posted outside the minister's office to be shared with members and friends of other services. In the foyer are listening devices and large print service programs and hymnals for those who may find their assistance beneficial. Please see one of the ushers who will be pleased to assist you. For those who desire, there are coloring meditation pages for you to use and small toys for children staying in the service with you this morning. I invite you now to turn your technology to worship mode. Finally, please note that the announcements on the back of your program, where do I have my program here to show you? There will be short verbal announcements following the postlude. We are so glad that you are here and hope that this morning is an opportunity for rest, reflection, and rejuvenation. In today's service, we go back in time to remember the life and legacy of Martin Luther King Jr., as well as to reflect on how we, as UUCW, have, are, and will address systems of oppression in our lives and institutions. The opening words come from King's book, Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community? As provided by the publisher, this is the last book written by King, where he offers his final reflections after a decade of civil rights struggles. In 1967, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. isolated himself from the demands of the civil rights movement, rented a house in Jamaica with no telephone, and labored over his final manuscript. In this prophetic work, he lays out his thoughts, plans, and dreams for America's future, including the need for better jobs, higher wages, decent housing, and quality education. With a universal message of hope that continues to resonate, King demanded an end to global suffering, asserting that humankind for the first time had the resources and technology to eradicate poverty. While this book was written over 50 years ago, I am stunned by how much of his writing is 100% relevant today. Not just because we have much yet to accomplish in the realm of race relations, but because we have much to accomplish in the realm of justice. Building the beloved community is a central theme. King imagines a society founded on justice, equal opportunity, and a profound sense of kinship among its members. A society where love is the driving force behind social change. King asserts that without love, efforts to achieve social harmony would be futile. He believes that love is essential in transforming relationships, healing divisions, and fostering unity in a diverse community that motivates humans to care for one another, irrespective of their backgrounds, races, or beliefs. King encourages open dialogue and understanding among different groups to bridge the gap between communities. In his vision, breaking down barriers of mistrust and misunderstanding is vital. Community members must engage in empathetic listening and seek common ground to resolve conflicts peacefully. Promoting social change and economic justice seems to be paramount in his message. King argues that love must be demonstrated through tangible actions that address inequality, poverty, and systemic discrimination. King highlights the importance of creating inclusive spaces where all individuals feel valued and respected. By doing so, we can collectively move towards realizing the beloved community. Please rise in body and in spirit and join in singing our opening hymn, 361, in the gray hymnal, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In.
Now it's time for our change for change. If you have spare change, the children are invited to come forth with the baskets to collect change. And the donations go to assist people in this community and the wider community with needs that they have.
Good morning. My name is Evan Wilson. I'm a member of the 8th Principal Task Force, and I'm here to share our 8th Principal moment. UUCW's 8th Principal Task Force aims to educate and inspire our community to incorporate anti-racist and anti-oppressive commitments as part of our faith. The 8th Principal Moment is a monthly opportunity to think more deeply about how racism and oppression manifest in our everyday lives and continue to hold such issues in the forefront of our hearts and mind. The text of the eighth principle can be found in your pew just in front of you, if anyone is interested to review. For this month's eighth principle moment, in connection with our theme of looking back in time, looking ahead, we're looking back in time to our last eighth principle service in October 2022. I stood here at the pulpit letting you know about the upcoming school committee election in 2023 and how people who live in Worcester would be selecting new school committee representatives in brand new districts. And so I wanted to share a short excerpt from the press release back in 2021 as to why this was the case. So this comes from the press release. A coalition of Black and Hispanic, Latina residents of Worcester filed a federal voting rights lawsuit alleging that the city's at-large system for electing school committee members discriminates against communities of color. The plaintiffs include community organizations of Worcester Interfaith and the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP, Worcester branch. According to the lawsuit, the use of an at-large system for all seats on the Worcester School Committee dilutes the voting power of minority voters in Worcester, violating the Federal Voting Rights Act and the U.S. Constitution. This is happening in Worcester, the second largest city in Massachusetts and the second largest city in New England. Communities of color in Worcester make up nearly half of the city's overall population. The student population of Worcester Public Schools is even more diverse. Despite this composition and the rapid growth of Hispanic, Latino, Latina, and Black communities, Worcester's 6-member school committee is all white, and with very few exceptions, has been all white during the course of the city's history. The complaint describes the city's polarized voting, whereby the predominantly white voting electorate consistently defeats the candidates preferred by minority communities. The complaint cites the example of the 2019 election in which the 6 school committee candidates, all of whom were white, who received most support in the 10 whitest precincts in the city, all won election. By contrast, candidates of color who were strongly supported in the 10 most diverse precincts in the city were unable to secure enough votes citywide to win office. I share this with you all as a reminder of the embedded systems that we all may too easily ignore. While the minutia of municipal government may feel like a chore to monitor, for anyone who has been paying attention to City Hall recently, you'll see that there's so much at stake locally. And I worry that our elected officials and our community at large are unwilling to look critically at who's benefiting from our current system and who's being harmed. In recent months, the Department of Justice has released a report after a multi-year investigation of the Worcester Police Department. The Department of Justice found a pattern of civil rights violations, specifically in their excessive use of force and towards their treatment of vulnerable populations, including women involved in commercial sex trade. Just this week, City Councilor Tu Nguyen, the first non-binary person to hold elected office in Massachusetts, spoke up about their experience of transphobia by city council colleagues, which only unleashed a barrage of transphobic attack from local residents and received coverage in Fox News. The eighth principle calls us to accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and in our institutions. We must first start with acknowledging hard truths and must continue to educate ourselves, show allyship for those most impacted, and advocate for justice and equity. I'm proud to say that UUCW is connected to Worcester Interfaith, one of those original plaintiffs in the school committee lawsuit. Our minister, Reverend Aaron Payson, who's currently on sabbatical until later this spring, serves on the Worcester Interfaith board. Myself, I've been an active member of the civic engagement organizing team. Mara Pentlarge, another member of the Eighth Principle Task Force, has participated in training. And others in the city are also involved in an affordable housing organizing team. All this to say, I invite you to stay informed and to engage with your community to ensure that we do not stay quiet or stay complicit. 2025 is a municipal election year. This brings a great opportunity for us to assess whether our current slate of elected officials are advancing Worcester to be an inclusive and just community for all. So I think next I'm inviting Dave up for Joys and Sorrows.
So we come to that time in our service when we're given pause to reflect on and share those events that touch us deeply. If you have a joy or sorrow to share, please make a line on either side of the sanctuary. Or if you're joining us online, enter your joy or sorrow in the chat. With the instruction, please read in all caps to make sure that we catch it and read it. And you may also light a candle in silence if you so choose. Are there joys or sorrows to be shared this morning?
Hi, I'm Chris, and I'm here as chair of the IHN, it's the In the Hour of Need shelter, the chair of the board this year. And I have a joy that we had our charter board meeting yesterday morning at the house for the first time, so everyone could see and be in the house. And we had 25 people come. We've had board meetings where there's 5 or 6 people. They're all the usual characters. So that's gives me a lot of hope. We're having a lot of financial problem this year because we lost $50,000 grant from the government because they're using it for EA shelters, emergency shelters. We're a totally different kind of shelter. It's a home. There are rooms for each person, each family that are there. So if you're not involved, I encourage you to come talk to me in coffee hour, but it's really, really hopeful to see all those people there engaged. Thank you.
Did you fill all the slots?
Oh, and this was our week, and I just did last night, and we filled them all. So we're a great congregation. Yeah.
Ed Robinson, I wasn't going to come up here, but I don't know if this is a joy and concern. I won't know until Friday, but I am one of the final candidates for the new LGBTQ board that's forming in the city. I have a meeting with Eric Batista virtually at 2:45 on Friday, so send good wishes. Thank you.
Since nobody got up to say this, I'm going to say it. I was honored to be the hanging out minister at the Loaves and Fishes distribution yesterday, and I am humbled both by the service that we're doing in this city and also by the incredible need that is there. So if anybody knows the numbers who's here, it's not me, but it was a lot. And thanks, everybody, for supporting Loaves and Fishes.
Don't mean to rush you.
That's okay. I just want to comment on what Evan said. Several years ago, my son and his girlfriend got arrested. And I had to go down and bail them out on a Sunday. That's like every cash card you've ever tried to get on a Sunday. I'm in the police station, and the police officer says to the young lady, "Name of your mother. Name of your father if you know who he is." How dare he? You know, and my son is Hispanic, so I thought, oh, this is coming. He was equally rude to my son. And then I stepped up and said, Who let you do this job? This is so ridiculous. She knows who her father is. And we are the parents of a very wonderful young man. So it's places we don't even think about, or words that just come out. And I think it's worth sharing. On the good note, we went to the UU Church in Barnstable over New Year's to have a wonderful service with the retired minister of the Provincetown UU Church. You know, sometimes you go to church and it's like an angel came down and blessed you. That's what this whole service was like. And there's Mel Robbins has a podcast called Let It Go, Let It Be. And that's what his whole sermon was for the new year. We're up against challenges everywhere, particularly politically, environmentally. So let's let it go and move forward. Thank you.
Good morning. My name's Joe Revo. My last name ends with a vowel. Today is the day before we honor Martin Luther King. It is also the day before we have a new administration sworn into office. Will people who identify as persons of color please stand up? People who have you in their skin, please stand up. People whose others came off the boats, please stand up. People whose parents are anchor children, please stand up. People who have children who are destined or who can be deported, please stand up. Veterans, stand up. People who have honored their commitments to this world, whose blood goes through others. People whose blood do not go through others, but it's still their DNA. Please stand up. Oh, really? Really? Indigenous people, stand up. Really? None of you. Come on. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah. No, I'm not done yet. No, I'm not done yet. No. You see, yeah, Uncle Sam's misguided children. Thank you. We gave you the world. We showed you how this place works. Yeah. Am I speaking to the choir? Yeah. I'm preaching to the choir. Thank you, choir. Thank you, choir. They weren't supposed to be here. They were supposed to go to Virginia. We went back to Grover Cleveland. Voted him out of office. Came back to being president. What the? Come on, folks. We wrote the books. We edit the books. Rewrite the stories. We edit the stories. We know how the periods were built. My name's Joseph. I'm supposed to be a carpenter. I was written out of the book. I raised the kid. No, come on, the jokes only get worse. I do not get any better. How do you bankrupt a casino? Yeah. You want separation of church and state? Thank you so much.
Any others? Okay, good. Thank you, Joe. So as we reflect on what was shared and we move on to our reading today, which is from a speech given by Martin Luther King Jr. to the Unitarian Universalist Association General Assembly in Hollywood, Florida, on May 18th, 1966. In the interest of time, I've abridged his comments, but I think it's enlightening how his words still ring true today. For the full text of the speech, please search the UUA website for Don't Sleep Through the Revolution, or you can check out the Eighth Principle link tree that Emily's going to be talking about later. So I'm starting to quote here. I would like to use as a subject to the church remaining awake during a great revolution. I'm sure that each of you has read that arresting little story from the pen of Washington Irving entitled Rip Van Winkle. One thing that we usually remember about the story of Rip Van Winkle is that he slept 20 years. But there's another point to that story which is almost always completely overlooked. It is the sign on the inn of the little town on the Hudson from which Rip went up into the mountains for his long sleep. When he went up, the sign had a picture of King George III of England. When he came down, the sign had a picture of George Washington, the first president of the United States. When Rip Van Winkle looked up at the picture of George Washington, he was amazed. He was completely lost. One of the great misfortunes of history is that all too many individuals and institutions find themselves in a great period of change and yet fail to achieve the new attitudes and outlooks that the new situation demands. There is nothing more tragic than to sleep through a revolution. And there can be no gainsaying of the fact that a social revolution is taking place in our world today. We see it in other nations in the demise of colonialism. We see it in our own nation. And as we notice this struggle, we are aware of the fact that a social revolution is taking place in our midst. I'm sure we all agree that the church has a major role to play in this period of social change. I would like to suggest some of the things that the church must continually do in order to remain awake during this revolution. First, we are challenged to instill within the people of our congregations a world perspective. The world in which we live is geographically one. Now, more and more, we are challenged to make it one in terms of brotherhood. All life is interrelated, and somehow we are all tied together. For some strange reason, I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be. This is the interrelated structure of all reality. Secondly, it is necessary for the church to reaffirm over and over again the essential immorality of racial segregation. We must make it clear that segregation, whether it's in our public schools, in housing, or in recreational facilities, or in the church itself, is morally wrong and sinful. There's another thing that the church must do to remain awake. I think it is necessary to refute the idea that there are superior and inferior races. The next thing that the church must do to remain awake through the revolution is to move out into the arena of social action. It is not enough for the church to work in the ideological realm and to clear up misguided ideas. To remain awake through this social revolution, the church must engage in strong action programs to get rid of the last vestiges of segregation and discrimination. It is necessary to get rid of one or two myths if we're really going to engage in this kind of social action program. One is the notion that legislation is not effective in bringing about the changes that we need in human relations. It may be true that you can't legislate integration, but you can legislate desegregation. It may be true that morality cannot be legislated, but behavior can be regulated. It may be true that the law cannot change the heart, but it can restrain the heartless. The law cannot make a man love me, but it can restrain him from lynching me. And I think that's pretty important also. And so while the law may not change the hearts of men, it does change the habits of men. So it is necessary for the church to support strong, meaningful civil rights legislation. So I end the quote there. So a lot has changed since 1966, the year of my birth. I mean, look at me. But at the same time, we still hear about both blatant and systemic discrimination on a daily basis. And is there a revolution to sleep through now like there was then? Despite today's apparent political wins, it only takes talking to some young people to see just how much change is in the air if we can stem the backlash. I think these suggestions from MLK about what we can do as a church ring as true today as they did in 1966. Instill a world perspective, affirm the immorality of legal racial segregation, however subtle, refute racial supremacy, and dedicate ourselves to social action. And that brings us to our offering today. As the plate comes by your pew, in addition to a financial offering, please also consider our offerings to the world individually, within groups, and as an institution. Our offering will now be received. And now it's time for class participation. For our reflection, I will reintroduce our fearless facilitator, Evan Wilson. Not yet. No? Choir. Please. After that, Evan will come up.
Now it is time for our reflection. So the title of today's service, again, in keeping with our time machine, looking back and looking forward theme, we're going back to the same title as our 8th Principle service back in 2022, Journeying Towards the 8th Principle, Building an Anti-Racist Beloved Community. So when we thought about how to revisit this theme, we thought about soliciting all of your help. So as Dave mentioned, today's reflection is going to be participatory, because we need your help in this journey. So we're inviting you to participate as much as you feel comfortable, and I'm going to explain how the reflection is going to go. We'll give you a little bit of time to think for yourself. So everyone should have 2 different cards behind them in their pew. Thank you. I see Reverend Lachey holding them up. There should be a yellow card. Thank you. There should be a blue card. Hopefully everyone should have enough in their pews. If not, the world does have nearly abundant resources, so we hope that there are some abundant cards behind you. There should be pens with you as well. So these little note cards are a tool for reflection and articulation. We'd like you to think about what you see in the future on the yellow card, and then thoughts about how to get there on the blue card. So we'll first offer some explanation and demonstration. So on our yellow card, looking ahead to the future, we imagine maybe 5 years ahead into the future, maybe after someone's term as well. What do you see in the world? What do you see in our community? What do you see in UUCW? What does our diverse, multicultural, beloved community look like? What does spiritual wholeness look like? Karen Stevenson from the 8th Principle Task Force will share some examples.
In 5 years, our world and community reflects significant progress towards inclusivity and shared purpose. At UUCW, our diverse, multicultural, beloved community stands as a beacon of unity and hope. Here's what it could look like. Diversity and presence. Our congregation mirrors the rich diversity of our broader community, with people of various racial, ethnic, cultural, linguistic backgrounds actively participating in our services, programs, and leadership. Spiritual wholeness. A sense of spiritual wholeness emanates from our commitment to justice, equity, and compassion. The 8th Principle guides our work, fostering a culture where individuals and continually working to dismantle oppressions, heals past harms, and creates a sacred space for all. Social justice leadership. Generational inclusion. Our programs engage all generations from children to elders, offering inclusive curricula and activities that highlight the values of equity and shared humanity.
But a vision is nothing unless we have plans on how to reach it. So then on our blue cards, we'll invite you to think just slightly ahead into the future. How do we get to this vision? Within the 8th Principle, which again is in the back of your pews, there are instructions on how to create spiritual wholeness and work towards a diverse, multicultural, beloved community. The 8th Principle states we do this by accountably dismantling oppressions in ourselves and in our institutions. So we ask, what does this look like for you, for our community, for UUCW? What steps can we take?
To create this vibrant, inclusive future, we commit to sustained and deliberate action. Here are a few key strategies to think about. Workshops and education. Host ongoing anti-racism, anti-oppression, and cultural competency workshops for the congregation and leadership. Linguistic inclusion. Develop bilingual services in Spanish and other language, supported by translators or language learner programs. Leadership diversity. Prioritize recruitment of diverse voices into leadership roles, ensuring decision and making ensuring decision-making represents the community's diversity, local partnerships, youth empowerment, and social justice advocacy.
Thanks, Karen. So following your reflection, you'll be invited to share in small groups with people sitting near you, as well as share your reflections with the 8th Principal Task Force to help create a time capsule of our dreams for the future, as well as concrete ideas on how to get there. So now I'd like to invite you to take the next few minutes during the musical interlude to write your future vision and your action steps on how you think we can build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community. So we'd now like to invite you to turn and form a small group of 3 or maybe 4 people, inviting you to connect with someone you may not have traveled here to church with. Please introduce yourself, and as you are willing to share, offer a reflection for your future vision and a reflection of how we might get there. And so after this sharing, we'll invite you, just like the offering, to place your visions and your action steps into baskets that will come around. And if you'd like to, we invite you to write your name on the back of the card so that the 8th Principal Task Force might follow up with you. And following the service, we will plan to both share the cards in the hallway here on the bulletin board, as well as collect it and type it up for our collective vision and to share back with you all. So now for about the next 5 minutes, we invite you to turn and engage in a community conversation about your visions and your thoughts about how we will reach those visions. So I apologize to be cutting off conversation, but I hope that is indeed what I am doing. So I hope that conversation continues in coffee hour afterwards. And like in our title of our service, this is a journey, right? So we very much want to collect your insights and visions, which we'll be doing now. So folks from the 8th Principal Task Force are coming around with baskets. Please, as you feel comfortable, offer your visions and action plans so that we can take those. Thank you. As we said, we'll be compiling these, sharing them visually in the hallway on the bulletin board, and we will also be collecting them, typing them up to share with you all as well. So up next, I'd like to invite you to take out your teal hymnal. And our next hymn is hymn 1028, The Fire of Commitment. And please rise as you are able in body or spirit.
My name's Emily Stolarski, also a member of the 8th Principal Task Force. And today, as we close our service, I want to introduce a new tool that's been alluded to a few times, a new tool that we're piloting in hopes that we can keep the kinds of conversations that we started that are happening in our congregation going. And it's a simple website containing a list of links that you can return to anytime for 8th Principal resources, as well as news and opportunities to take action locally. So you can find a link to the website that we've created. Most of you guys have a little bookmark that we've made in your pew. I know that I ran out kind of over in the choir area, but I printed out a few more links that I'll place out in Fellowship Hall. So this would be something that you could take with you. It's going to remain live throughout the week and hopefully the months as we go on. So I'll give you a quick preview of what you could find. So for example, if you visit the site after church today or throughout the week, you can find a link to read Dr. King's full lecture that Dave read from earlier in the service. Or you can link to the Department of Justice report on the Worcester Police Department that Evan mentioned in his 8th Principal moment. Speaking of 8th Principal moments, on our link tree, you can find a link for anyone who wants to share out during the 8th Principal moment that we do once every month. You can find opportunities to take action with links to groups like Worcester Interfaith and Showing Up for Racial Justice. We've kind of sprinkled in, a few other items that we think that people may find inspirational, useful, and just kind of a reminder of some of the things that we've shared out that you might not necessarily remember to return to. So we'll be updating the site with new content to help keep us informed and inspired to incorporate anti-racist and anti-oppressive commitments as part of our faith. We're going to post, hopefully, all of the comments that were gathered this morning, the hopes and strategies for the future. So a suggestion, if you're feeling tomorrow like you need a place to turn your attention to, maybe we can offer that as an alternative to some other places you could be scrolling. So take a look at the link, return, and see what kind of changes have been made. And then there's a link at the very bottom to the 8th Principal Task Force email. Let us know what you think. Is it a dud? Is it great? Do you have a suggestion for a link to provide? And we'll see where we go. And that's all. Thank you. I think that's after the post. We'll do announcements after the post. Are there any brief announcements?
Hi, I'm Mara Pentlarge. If you want to go to the Martin Luther King Community Breakfast tomorrow morning at 8 at Assumption College, you can. The weather does not stop the breakfast from happening, but it does, you know, some people decide not to go. And, you know, it's only an 80% chance of snow. And it's a great time, you know, it's good music. The speaker looks good. At the end, we all hold hands and sing, "We Shall Overcome." You know, 700 people. It's a great time. Come join us.
Real quickly, I want to let you know that once again, we have qualified as a Good Trouble congregation with You the Vote. So I want to thank everybody here for all the participation that did help make that happen. And there is going to be a celebration on Tuesday, January 28th, with all of the congregations that qualified. And we're going to have a watch party here in Meeting Room 3 down the hall. It's at 8 o'clock, but I encourage you, if you're going to come a little bit before that so that we can get settled in and ready to start when it all begins. So I thank you all for your participation. And we may not be happy with the results, but we did some really great work, so we need to celebrate that.
My name is Andrew Wilkin. Would my fellow handbell people stand up, please? So if you were at Vespers, you saw us perform at that service, and we had a blast doing it. We really did. You guys can all participate in that. You can do it. I know you can. As I said before, you don't have to carry a tune, you just have to carry a bell. So not tomorrow, the 20th, but next Monday, the 27th, we're going to be meeting here for the first of the handbell practices that we're going to have. We'd love to have you come at 6:30 and join us on the 27th. Come and participate. It is a great time. We have lots of laughs, okay? Fun time. So come and join us, participate in handbells. You'll love it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That brings our service to a close. And thanks for all the great conversation. Hopefully we'll keep it up down in Fellowship Hall.